Welcome, you're listening to John Hyman from Commercial Real Estate Online. This is another video we put out for commercial real estate agents and brokers around the world. And if you haven't checked out our website, you can do so at commercial-real-estate-training.com. Indeed, at that website you'll get plenty of tips, tools and ideas about commercial real estate brokerage, be it sales, leasing or property management. And even today I loaded a particular podcast relating to commercial property activities, and it is podcast number 213. So you can pick it up at the website. It is in audio MP3 format. So now let's get on with this particular program, which is all about commercial real estate and particularly property management. So let's have a look at the topic here. That is commercial property performance tips for property managers and those particularly managing commercial office towers. Now, when you manage and or lease a commercial office tower, there are many things that you should track and monitor to improve property performance over time. The landlord will have targets to fulfill, and the tenants will bring to the property certain demands and challenges on a daily basis, so you need a plan. So what is that property management plan? Well, we'll look at that at a moment. A plan is required for the property to make things happen and to improve property performance over time. The landlord will have targets, the tenants will have demands, and somewhere in there a plan keeps everything together. It can also be said that the changes within the property market during the year will impose significant shifts in rent, occupancy and property returns. Are you up to the challenge? So let's get specific with some ideas to help here. Let's have a look at the plan with some ideas. Firstly, we'll look at the first subject, and that is the tenancy mix. In some commercial buildings, the tenancy mix is critical to the performance of the building. Some tenants don't go very well at all near other particular tenants and close to others within the same building. So you need to understand your tenancy mix and how it works, where the conflicts may be between the particular tenants. So each tenant should be looked at for compatibility with others in the same location. As part of that assessment, look at the dates of lease expiry so you don't get too many tenancy areas vacating at the same time. So let's look at number 2, lease documentation. There are different types of leases out there, and of course many different leases for many different property types. Alternatives exist in lease documentation to set rental levels, rental structures, rent reviews and options. You'll need to understand how those things work. The right choices should be made to help the landlord improve investment results, and the lease documentation will do that. Number 3, longer leases. If the property or premises suits, a longer lease term can be negotiated with a suitable tenant, and I say a suitable tenant. I go back to the point that a quality tenant should be chosen for ongoing occupancy. With some buildings, it pays to have a checklist approach to qualifying a tenant for the property. Understand what the tenant will bring to a property over time, and how that tenant and lease will hopefully improve the investment profile for the asset and ultimately the landlord. So let's go to number 4. Improved rental. There will always be a start rent negotiated between the tenant and the landlord. That's the job of the agent, the property manager or the leasing expert. The increase of that rent over the lease term should be planned and structured in the rent reviews, and those rent reviews should be set according to the plans that the landlord may have for the property and for their investment over time. There are many different reviews to consider, such as fixed percentage rentals, market rentals, fixed amount, CPI index, or some other combination of those. Now, the property laws in your location are likely to have some impact on the combinations and type of rent reviews to be used, so understand the property laws as they apply to the particular asset that you manage. There will also be choices driven by local property market conditions and the market rentals in the location, so make the right choices. Understand what's going on out there. So let's go to number 5. Third income streams. The terminology may seem a bit strange, but it actually means extra rental streams of income. It implies that you can find other income opportunities in a property beyond the normal rent paid by a tenant. That is the case with storage, car parking, antenna rental, cable licenses, naming rights and casual space. Perhaps you can also think of an extra income stream. A good property in a prime location lends itself well to extra income streams for the landlord. So think about it. Where can you pick up those extra rental streams for the landlord client? So let's go to number 6. Lower vacancy factors. Lowering the vacancy rate or helping it to reduce over time is a good thing. Market conditions will have something to do with the local tenant vacancy, so understand the pressures of things and how that could have an impact on your property. Your rentals and incentives should be keenly structured to drive lower vacancy rates and also good tenant inquiries. That's what a tenancy mix plan is all about. So let's go to number 7. Outgoings recovery. It costs money in a building to run that building every day. Many of those outgoings costs will be recovered for the landlord through the lease and the rental structures. Now that is a strategic issue for the property manager and the leasing manager to work through. Understand the market conditions, what they are like, and what will the outgoings recovery be in the building. How can you structure the outgoings recovery into the rental? When you put in place an effective rental strategy, you will recover outgoings for the landlord over the lease term, and that's exactly what they require. Understand the differences between net and gross rental, incentives and other factors that could have an impact on outgoings recovery. So let's go to number 8. Expenditure controls. Any large commercial property will require expenditure budgeting so that costs and income are well matched. Compare your building to others locally from an expenditure point of view so you know that your property is positioned well. It is competitive. You want to be within the averages of expenditure and the property operational costs as they apply to that property in that location. Understand the types of properties around and how your averages apply within the property type. So let's go to number 9. Tenant retention plans. In a large tenancy mix, you will have priority tenants to look after for the long term. You'll also have some poor tenants that you would rather move on. So a tenant retention plan helps you make the decisions regards your tenants in occupancy. You will not normally want to lose tenants to other competing buildings, and especially your good tenants. A tenant retention plan helps you move through the tenant and leasing decisions through the year. The plan will also help you decide how you want to negotiate new leases before they fall due. So let's go to number 10. Tenant interviews. Keep in close contact with all of your tenants to understand the pressures of occupancy from their perspective in running their business. Some tenants will want to expand and others will need to relocate, perhaps in the same building. It is better that you work with those issues with your prime tenants, your good tenants. Keep your good tenants for the long term. Adjust where you can to their business occupancy needs. The best way to do that is through a series of organised meetings throughout the year. Keep in touch with your good tenants. Have regular tenant interviews. Number 11. Maintenance systems and routines. Understand the important aspects of maintenance in the property that could have an impact on occupancy and/or safety. You will need some strategies to handle those issues. Don't let the property fall into problems associated with risk and poor maintenance. Keep the maintenance in the property well under control. Understand what the property needs for a maintenance activity in a regular, ongoing way. And number 12, the last one, building compliance. For the property to be occupied safely and legally, the asset has to comply with established building safety codes and building occupancy codes. During the year, it pays to do a compliance audit. The best way to do that, of course, is to secure the services of specialised engineers and consultants that understand the building and the property type. So, you may be able to add to this particular plan. I have given you 12 factors that are quite common in managing a large office building in any major city. The items were a tenancy mix, lease documentation, longer leases, improved rental strategies, third income streams, lower vacancy factors, outgoings recovery, expenditure controls, tenant retention plans, tenant interviews, and the maintenance systems and routines within the property, and lastly, building compliance. So there you have a property management plan. Perhaps you can add to the plan based on your location and/or property type. The important thing is that you understand the property performance requirements of your landlord and the property itself. So that's the end of this particular topic, this video. You can get more tips, tools and ideas at our website, which is commercial-realestate-training.com. My name is John Hyman. I do thank you for joining the program today, and of course you can get many other templates and audio programs to download from our website. So I look forward to contacting you at our website, that is commercial-realestate-training.com.